Yi Tianqi touched the ancient wooden door, and an inexplicable ripple suddenly rippled in his heart. On the lintel carved from elm wood, a few strong scribal characters rather pointedly read, "A family of books." Yi Tianqi stared curiously at these few words that were somewhat vicissitudes, trying to imagine what the person who wrote the inscription looked like. This is one of the side rooms of the courtyard. As long as you push open the elmwood door, Yi Tianqi's life in the Kong family compound will begin. The somewhat plain courtyard was planted with a lot of water-drop guanine, and even the corners of the walls were filled with low-growing yew. The entire courtyard was square, and the west side room took up a lot of space. Yi Tianqi carried his traveling bag and gently pushed open the wooden door. The ancient and heavy wooden door let out a low-hanging hiss before somewhat reluctantly lifting a crack. "This will be my home from now on," Yi Tianqi said quietly to himself. The summer cicadas were chirping fiercely on the branches in the afternoon, making the courtyard even quieter. Tall trees and low shrubs in the courtyard, intertwined with large and small shadows of different shapes, but there is not even a person. As the saying goes, the cicadas are quieter than the forest, and the birds are singing in the mountains. That's what I'm talking about right now. Yi Tianqi quietly felt the momentary coolness of the summer afternoon, and suddenly felt a strange breeze passing by his ears. It was a bit like the kind of directionless breeze blowing in the wilderness, cool but with a hint of uncertainty, making people feel cold in their bones. Yi Tianqi turned around coldly, only to see that he didn't see anything under the empty patio. He mockingly scratched his head and continued to walk forward. On both sides of the west side of the compartment is the patio. Kong family compound is a pearl structure, so there are large and small more than 80 rooms and 7 huge patio. Out of Yi Tianqi's surprise is that these 7 patio, even by the owner of the far-fetched name, in the west side of the compound where he stayed on the 2 sides of the patio is called in turn, Falling Jade Plate, and the 2 wells on the west side of the compound were called Falling Jade Plate and Flat Sand Geese. It was quite literate. When you get to the courtyard, just do your own thing, don't look at what you shouldn't look at, and don't do what you shouldn't do. The kind-faced concierge old Li's eyes seemed to be a little cloudy, and he said to Yi Tianqi in a confused manner. "Well." Yi Tianqi hurriedly walked into the gate of the Kong family compound after giving a non-committal promise. The hot air in the afternoon vaporized the sweat drops on his body, and the close-fitting lab coat was now more tightly adhered to his body. Yi Tianqi felt uncomfortable. After putting down his bag, he carefully surveyed the world behind this wooden door and the outside patio, as neat as the square courtyard, not too big a small room, looks a little bit old. This is the future of their own residence. A little farther away from a small flower garden, planted with a variety of plants, it looks like this courtyard, the 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 courtyard. The small flower bed a little farther away was planted with a variety of plants, and it looked like this courtyard had not been inhabited for a long time. The stone benches and tables were covered with dust. Tick, tick, tick. A series of crisp sound of falling water came from between his ears. Yi Tianqi turned his eyes to look, only to see that the tiles under the eaves of the house were flowing with water from last night's downpour, and were slowly falling down the ancient colored tiles. No, these past few days have been sunny in a row, so where did the heavy rain come from? A thought suddenly flashed into his mind. But where did all that falling water come from? Yi Tianqi gently pushed open the residence belonging to himself, will luggage open put into the room everywhere, but his stomach grumbled. Look at the day has come to the time before dinner. He resentfully closed the door, looking for the East Hall to find some meals. The East Hall is the dining hall of the Kong family compound. Of course, this is for the subordinates. From now on you will eat here. Concierge old Li's dry voice seemed to still echo in his ears as Yi Tianqi accelerated his steps and passed through the small courtyard where he lived. At this moment, like a thunderbolt, in the tunnel leading to the patio, Flat Sand Geese, suddenly appeared a pale little boy. Yi Tianqi cold to see him, the heart is already shocked a little bit where he came from. The little boy wearing a plain clothes, seems to be unable to see the face, holding a huge blue and white porcelain vase, is looking straight at Yi Tianqi. This side Yi Tianqi was also staring blankly at the little boy who appeared in front of him for no reason. His heart tightened for a while. That little boy just stood on the tunnel, seemingly with no intention of leaving, and in the blink of an eye, disappeared from Yi Tianqi's eyes. He only felt his scalp explode, then stumbled and ran in panic. The East Hall is a few hundred steps away from here, and Yi Tianqi seems to be far away from the sky. And that pale little boy clearly does not look like the people of this world. Jia 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 jia. A burst of ear-piercing laughter came from behind. Yi Tianqi seems to be able to feel that the little boy is holding that huge blue and white porcelain bottle at a fast pace, not slow to follow behind him. Suddenly his feet slipped, and he stumbled greatly, flopping down onto the verdant stone floor in this way. Little Yi, what's wrong with you? Yi Tianqi raised his head at the sound of his voice and saw an old face covered with gullies, a face that seemed to be covered with sores, and chaotic eyes that were looking at him furtively. Old Li, the concierge, grinned, revealing a row of crippled tooth beds. A midnight dream. When he arrived at the largest of the fire kilns, Yi Tianqi's mind was as clear as a mirror. Kong family to manufacture ghost porcelain for the highest technology, and ghost porcelain is indeed a desire to stop the object, but where there are dignitaries and nobles to enjoy the time, they will order this kind of thing from the Kong family, and the manufacture of ghost porcelain needs the bones of the living, the high fire burned into the tire, and then supplemented with a secret formula refining, and finally into a kind of ghosts and porcelain things. And each piece of ghost porcelain has a porcelain spirit. Over there is the ghost of the living skeleton. Due to the ghost porcelain is too damaging, the Kong family has not been manufactured for a long time, for fear of the Kong boss after the helm of the things that happen. This largest fire kiln Yi Tianqi see clearly, is the burning of the ghost people porcelain ware, but tonight's battle, clearly not porcelain, but to break belonging to the Nalan Yushang that vase in the crowd. The old Li hunched over, embracing a huge blue and white porcelain vase, Yi Tianqi to see that is the largest of their own yard that. Originally, he saw Kong Hao embracing the porcelain vase is just a hint of Yushang to him. The real ghost people porcelain, even stayed in their own day and night work and rest place. No wonder every time I can see Yushang, it turned out that she because of the old love is unforgettable, but also has been accompanied by their own. Yi Tianqi only feels stifled in the chest, the edge of the kiln. Kong Hao by the big grandma hand, let out a hissing cry. The sound is very scary. Yi Tianqi and Arrow step rushed up, but by a strong family servant stopped. The ghost people porcelain is undergoing the fire baking. No wonder Nalan Yushang will be so painful. If you want to break the ghost people porcelain, you must use the fire source when making it. Must be this fire kiln is the place to burn the ghost people porcelain. No time to think, just when he was about to rush forward, he only heard a commotion from the crowd. No good. Second grandma went up the mountain. Everyone escape. Help. The subordinates all let out nervous cries. Only Old Li and a few government craftsmen who supervised the manufacture of ghost man porcelain remained still, and great-grandma even held Kong Hao tightly. Only to see Nalan Yushang dragging his hobbling body toward the top of the mountain. Along the way, are layers of falling skin. Her face has taken on an iron-green color, and the skin on her face also revealed the white bones. At this time, the Old Li a hand will be that the ghost people porcelain thrown into the fire. Ah! Nalan Yushang let out a miserable scream, fell to the ground, his body rose layers of blazing fire. Yi Tianqi felt the temperature of the blazing fire in the fire kiln, which was scorching the ghost man porcelain. No, it should be Nalan Yushang, his favorite Yushang. Incarnate human porcelain can eliminate desire. Add human bones over the years can help its efficacy. The more human bones, the more the porcelain spirit flourishes. Yi Tianqi's heart suddenly sprang up this string of words, and I don't know who said it, about the remnants of the memories of his previous life. He suddenly thought of the decision he made in his previous life, so he didn't care about the temperature of the blazing fire, broke away from the family guard's constraints, and ran towards the fire kiln. Lao San, don't go. Yushang let out a sharp cry. She no longer had the strength to stop Yi Tianqi while the crowd beside her were all far away from her. Yi Tianqi glanced back at Nalan Yushang, and suddenly changed into a smile, which looked startling to the great-grandmother, who instantly exclaimed, "This, is this not third brother?" Old Li also revealed a look of fear, only to see that at this time the porcelain vase in the kiln thumped, listing more than feet-long mouth. Don't, Lao San. Yushang although tried to cry out, but the voice is small. It seems with the ghost people porcelain rupture, as porcelain spirit she will definitely soul fly away. Yi Tianqi looked at Nalan Yushang and asked with incomparable warmth, "Yushang, can you remember the words I said to you?" You. Nalan Yushang had already crouched on the ground and could no longer get up. Yi Tianqi's eyes were full of compassion, and he said word by word, "Use my one life's calamity to ferry you through a lifetime of tears." After saying that, he jumped down to the burning fire kiln. Not good. Old Li saw the situation was about to go forward to drag him up, but did not expect the fire kiln issued a skyward fire, instantly surrounded the hill. The night pearl of the second hour. Into the fall has been a few days, but the air has been left with the aroma of acacia flowers. A young scion sat down in front of the inn and asked the boss for a bowl of old shade tea. Young man, it's hard to rush, isn't it? The boss asked as he served the tea with a smile. This latter did not reply, but only lifted up the black veil covering his face, slowly placed the tea to his mouth, and carefully sipped it. Young man, the bucket hat up open, this weather with a bucket hat, I'm afraid it's a bit hot oh. The boss still said tirelessly, but this man who looked to be 25 or 26 years old didn't seem to be moved by it, still sitting there. After a long time, he finally said, Boss, what year is this? Yo, customer, you ask this interesting thing, who do not know, change of days. Now called the Republic of China, no more mention of the Qin dynasty, or you will be killed. The innkeeper said in surprise, said really meta half crazy. Is there a good porcelain maker nearby? The latter asked again, his face could not be seen behind the black veil, not even his figure. To this past and then walk 10 miles, there is a porcelain smith, dare I ask you are? The owner asked. I'm going to make a sale. The latter added, boss, 2 pounds of beef. All right. Coming. The boss ran all the way to the kitchen. Father, mother, you will meet one day. That scion fished out a small black cloth bag from his bosom and slowly unfolded it under the sunlight. Inside was actually a piece of broken porcelain, but strangely enough, these pieces of broken porcelain refracted a tantalizing luster under the sunlight. 3 Nalan Yushang. A rare summer rain Yi Tianqi sat on a small stool under the eaves of the porch, staring at the raindrops that fell with the wind and froze. Ever since the last time he saw that unidentified little boy on the canal, Yi Tianqi had been feeling unsettled. At dinner that day, he asked a few subordinates who worked in the Kong family, but unexpectedly, they were all very secretive about this matter, as if Yi Tianqi talked about a topic that could not be said in this compound, and all of them were silent about it. On the contrary, the door of the old Li grinning a deformed old mouth, enthusiastically for him to clip food and pour tea, as if Yi Tianqi is this group of subordinates in the guest of honor. To be honest, the Kong family compound in the subordinates quite a lot, but literate not much. In addition to the old Li, Yi Tianqi afraid of the best of them, as a pedagogue, can find such a job in the compound is not easy. Kong family is known far and near. The big family, in hundreds of miles on the boundary, is second to none. If it is not the home of the old mother is seriously ill, Yi Tianqi is not so much as to wait hundreds of miles to this place to teach. I heard that the Kong family of children are naughty and naughty. This to the yard has been almost 3 days. Yi Tianqi did not see, can only imagine in his mind that those who are not yet old enough to play boys, how naughty and naughty nature. To pass the time, Yi Tianqi will take out the books he brought, drinking tea page by page. Kong family compound house deep people mixed, these days did not let him fully understand. He only stopped at the moment in this small courtyard, looking at the corner of the purple violet climbing the pink wall day by day, but also happy to be clean. In the midst of his thoughts, there was a sudden knock on the door of the small courtyard. Yi Tianqi fixed his mind, got up and went to open the door, only to see the door of the room. Old Li holding a black oil paper umbrella, is standing under the rain curtain. From his hoarse voice cannot hear any feelings. It seems that this person is an inanimate object, only responsible for the transmission of information only. What is it? Yi Tianqi asked courteously, but in his heart, he unconsciously recalled the tunnel outside the door. Old Li grinned and said, tomorrow at dawn, the young master is coming to class, so prepare yourself and get to work. After saying that, he turned around and slowly disappeared at the end of the tunnel as if he had not seen Yi Tianqi himself. The last words still flowed in the air, that place is in the East Hall, I will come to guide you in the morning, rest early. Good. Yi Tianqi promised in a low voice, then closed the wooden door and prepared to continue drinking tea and reading. Suddenly something moved in his heart, making Yi Tianqi feel extraordinarily surprised. Dawn time. How can it be dawning? Dawning is the light of day. This adult is really some strange. Why choose to teach and raise children before sunrise? Yi Tianqi heart all kinds of puzzles, but there is no way to get the answer, can only resentfully into the room, ready for tomorrow morning's books. The sky is already dark, the other yards have already palmed the lights, warm candlelight is following the high walls to pass over. Yi Tianqi also lit the lamp in the room, ready to read a book and rest. The night deepened like a burst, the canopy slowly descended into sleep. Yi Tianqi stared at the flickering candle flame, his mind repeatedly recalling the contents of the book. The book has its own face like jade, the book has its own golden house. He smiled to himself, thinking back to the experience of these years, even felt that he is useless, his mother is seriously ill, no money for medical treatment, not to mention, even the home of the chickens and ducks also followed the crime, one by one died. Yi Tianqi suddenly feel hopeless life, then secretly sad. Judging from the sadness, suddenly heard the knocking sound. Yi Tianqi long sigh, slowly went forward to open the elm door. Let a person's eyes bright is, a woman is standing in front of the door, to their own line of manifestation of blessings. Miss, please do not be polite, please ask. Yi Tianqi froze in the middle of the night. Whose woman will come to his door, but also for no reason to salute and bow to himself. I heard that the son taught the son, the slave family is deeply gratified, so late at night to visit, so that thank you, I hope that the son do not take offense. The woman rose in style, bowed her head and said, the hands also carried a basket of snacks like things. I saw this woman dressed very expensive, hair bun with an emerald silver hairpin, above a string of crystal pearl tassel is very eye-catching. The green silk was pulled into a high mound, wearing a lake blue flag dress. The pale blue skirt was like lotus petals scattered in all directions. She was draped in a 24 dragons and phoenixes shawl that did not match well with this season. Originally this unseasonal attire made Yi Tianqi feel a little bit of abruptness, but when he heard that the woman was a member of the Kong family, his heart loosened up a little bit. Originally is the lady, in the next courtesy, teaching and educating people, this is in the next duty, lady folded the villain. Yi Tianqi slowly returned the salute, looked down, the woman's pair of lotus feet seems to be hidden under the hem of the skirt. At the moment, they did not dare to look at it more, and then Colorful said, I don't know what Mrs. described the little child, but tomorrow morning you will know, slaves first leave, son good rest. The woman was born with bright eyes and white teeth, talked between quite a gentleman style, so that Yi Tianqi was very shocked. District a woman, recognize the body is not humble, their own is a realm of subordinates. Can get this thanks to Yi Tianqi feel comfortable. The woman said, then Ying turned to leave. When she turned around, beautiful eyes flashed and said, the little boy is stubborn, but also please gentlemen more trouble. Yi Tianqi bowed his head and promised, but his eyes did not dare to continue to look toward the woman. She was born in a clear and beautiful, so that people do not look sideways, but so that Yi Tianqi's chest like a deer in the arms, end of the ground from the night to break out of this kind of stunning beauty, for fear of ordinary people cannot be consumed, right? The air seems to flow a fragrance of acacia flowers, want to come from this woman. Yi Tianqi eyes slightly closed, sent the woman to leave, but feel nostalgic, an indescribable sense of loss arose, but such as the woman stepped out of the courtyard door, Yi Tianqi only then probed his head, wanting to take a look at her back is also good. All around is a silence. Yard door what people are not, Yi Tianqi heart of a rin that the woman cannot be so fast speed out of this long tunnel, that at this moment she went where? Thought of this out, he suddenly recalled a few days ago in the tunnel to see the mysterious boy, the heart suddenly tightened a tight, coupled with the woman just now disappeared from the tunnel for no apparent reason, so that he felt a little surprised, just went back to thinking between. Only to see something in the corner of his eye just as the moonlight flooded with white light. That little boy again holding relative to his size is two large blue and white porcelain vase standing in the middle of the tunnel. The moonlight could not see his face, in fact, from the beginning Yi Tianqi did not see his face. The huge porcelain vase in the tunnel almost covered half of the child's body, even the ground under his feet cannot be seen. Yi Tianqi felt that the child was staring straight at himself, although he could not see his eyes, Yi Tianqi could feel that those eyes were looking straight at him. At that moment, his scalp was numb, Yi Tianqi's feet were soft and he almost fell. What the hell is going on? Jia 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 jia. Suddenly the child began to laugh loudly. That sharp laughter let Yi Tianqi as if down in the ice cellar. Suddenly he thought, this night is not in the rain it, and how to come to the crisp moonlight. His eyes black, suddenly do not know where he is. Xiao Yi. Wake up. It's almost dawn. In a daze, Yi Tianqi felt someone shaking his body violently, so he opened his sleepy eyes, and in front of him was again old Li's horrifying face, with his crippled tooth beds caved in, hoarsely shouting his name. I fell asleep. Yi Tianqi broke out in a cold sweat, only then did it occur to him that just now it turned out to be a dream of Nank. But the dream just now was too real, the woman, the boy, seemed like it was close to his eyes, and Yi Tianqi seemed to be able to recall the intoxicating acacia aroma on the woman's body. Look at you sleep like a dead pig, hurry up, the dawning hour will come soon, I will guide you to the East Hall. Old Li had already carried Yi Tianqi's bookcase on his back as he spoke, go go go. If you miss the hour the master will blame you. Without much thought, Yi Tianqi followed Old Li out of the small courtyard with his drowsy brain. Kong family compound is indeed prosperous, in addition to the size of dozens of rooms and courtyards, even connected to the various homes of the tunnel is long and incomparable. Walking in the silence of the road he can only hear the Old Li's hurried footsteps and his own heavy breathing. From time to time, he also looked back with palpitations, as if the mysterious little boy will appear behind him at any time. For porcelain sacrifice. East Hall is the furthest away from Yi Tianqi's residence, thus walking on the tunnel took a lot of time. Maybe worried about missing the hour, Old Li walked especially fast. Yi Tianqi even doubt, this old body bone is how in the slippery stone road does not fall down. 7 turns I do not know how many turns, a gate in front of the open, I think it is the Kong family compound of the East Hall, which is surprisingly quiet. Think of this. Yi Tianqi could not help but laugh dumbly, afraid that only the Kong family will make such outrageous things. The day is not yet bright when the class was opened, this child is afraid to have to suffer. After the wooden door is a small courtyard, generally with Yi Tianqi live in the same place, but the courtyard is missing a lot of plants. It seems that this compound is not much plant, bare ground makes people feel not very comfortable. What surprised Yi Tianqi was that there were no lights in this courtyard. Instead, a few large night pearls were strung on the wooden poles on both sides of the courtyard door, illuminating the courtyard quite brightly. Only the icy blue luster made Yi Tianqi feel a lack of warmth. As he and Old Li stepped into the courtyard, several underlings standing on both sides of the small courtyard shouted loudly. Master Yi has arrived. Palm the lamp. As soon as the words fell, the current room was lit up in unison with an icy blue glow. Needless to say, the room was being illuminated by more night pearls instead of candles. Yi Tianqi thought to himself that the Kong family was really affluent, even the bucket-sized night pearl was so many, so business must be exceptionally prosperous. Until now he didn't know what kind of business the master of the Kong family was in. The two of them waited in front of the hall for a few moments, then Old Li led Yi Tianqi into the inner room, only to see a piece of icy blue light. A side of the coffee table was placed horizontally in front of the door, in the middle of the hall was a portrait of a husband and wife, and on both sides of the hall were antique celadon wares. Yi Tianqi looked around, it turned out that there is only one student, it must be the woman last night said in the mouth of the little child it. Wait, last night that woman is not only in their dreams. This question once appeared, will not be able to eliminate from the heart. Yi Tianqi has never known whether that woman really appeared in front of his eyes or only in his dream, but that horrifying little boy holding the porcelain bottle and what is the matter? Master Yi, please take your seat and perform the rite of worship. Old Li seemed to see the block in Yi Tianqi's heart, so he said in a hoarse voice. Yi Tianqi just remembered that this time they are here to teach, so they sought a high chair on the hall to sit down. The current is their only student, a worship master, is considered to recognize Yi Tianqi as a master. The second worship is considered to be the end of the book, the third worship, but was brought to the Old Li on both sides of the celadon before, worship accounting the end of the ceremony. Did not wait for Yi Tianqi back to God, the child slowly raised his head. But let him be appalled at how this child and the dream of the child holding the vase so similar. Although he had not seen the child's face, but a strong feeling was hitting Yi Tianqi's memory, he was very sure that the child in front of him must be the one who was looking straight at himself on the tunnel. Good day master, please use the tea. The boy's clear childish voice pulled Yi Tianqi from the whirlpool of memories. The child was carrying a well-made celadon tea light, inside was the steep tea. Yi Tianqi was stunned and took the tea light. Detailed scrutiny, the child was born quite clean, there seems to be a wonderful feeling between the eyebrows, look and feel very intelligent, not like the impression of stubborn children. Yi Tianqi looked quite satisfied, then slowly drink the tea. A mouthful of tea into the abdomen, immediately feel the summer air suddenly cancelled, also do not know what is added to the tea. Master Yi, start, at the hour I will guide you back to your room. Old Li's raw voice once again sounded out of place. Yi Tianqi then opened the bookcase and put the things used for teaching on the desk table, and the first lesson started even so. Starting from the University, Medievalism, when the chicken crowed for the second time, the child had already learned most of it, and the rest of the time was literacy. Half of the 1,000 characters were taught, and it seemed that the child was quite intelligent. Yi Tianqi casually said, "What is the name of the disciple?" "Single name Hao." The boy did not raise his head, still looking at the book in fascination. "Kong Hao, nice name," Yi Tianqi murmured. "I'll give you a watchword for your teacher, let's call it Tianqi, it's a kind of meeting gift for you." After saying that, he took a sip of the clear tea, and immediately felt cool to the bone. "Still not fast enough to pay thanks to master for giving you the word?" Old Li urged from the side. "Oh." Kong Hao followed the example and bowed to Yi Tianqi saying, "Thank you master for giving me the word." Yi Tianqi looked at the child in front of him, indeed very much like that child who had scared himself several times, just in the way of Old Li's face did not dare to ask more, and Old Li seemed to be not moving an inch from himself. Yi Tianqi had been unable to find the opportunity to ask Kong Hao if he was the child who was holding the celadon vase on the tunnel. Close to the light of day, the chicken crowed for the third time, outside the door sounded a dull gong, startled Yi Tianqi eyelids jumped. At this time, Old Li slowly stood up and said, "Master Yi, let's go, the hour will come, today's lesson will end here." Yi Tianqi clearly saw reluctance in Kong Hao's stern eyes. It was a kind of infatuation with books that he himself had had in his early years, and at that moment he moved to teach the child for a little while longer. I didn't realize that Old Li dragged his bookcase away with him, saying, "The master said that the lesson will not exceed the hour, Master Yi please go back." The implication was that he must go. At that moment, Kong Hao knowingly bade farewell to Yi Tianqi, "See Master Yi off. Extinguish the lights." Two people from the courtyard door to leave the mouth, a subordinate shouted loudly, "Yi Tianqi behind the courtyard night pearl will be brushed off," everything as if it never happened. Yi Tianqi turned back to look at, that the east hall is reflected in the dawn of the imminent dawn, the appearance of the greenish-gray looks quite majestic, as if it does not look like the general hall. Old Li and aside of the constant urging, he had to speed up the pace to leave. When walking through the corner of a tunnel, Yi Tianqi eyelids jumped that last night's visit to the woman, at the moment is deep in the corner, wearing that gorgeous clothes to his Ying worship. He unconsciously nodded in response. "What are you looking at? Don't go yet." Old Li was urging again. "Old Li, look at that woman," Yi Tianqi said as soon as he came back to his senses, pointing around the corner, trying to point to Old Li. Old Li said in a bad mood, "What's there to see, is not just a wall." Strange to say, turn back between the woman even disappeared. Yi Tianqi cannot help but feel surprised, but not convenient to ask, then resentfully along with the Old Li went. Back to the West Hall with breakfast, there has been a crowd. See Yi Tianqi came in, everyone suddenly stopped talking, or looking at him with strange eyes, but it is the Old Li quite attentive for him to play rice-clip food. Yi Tianqi chewing rice, beside the ear seems to hear a fine chanting. "Yo, it is this person bold. What are you talking nonsense, maybe the second grandmother likes this kind of can teach her children. Well. Quickly stop talking, second grandma, my god, tsk 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 tsk. Eat up, eat up, eat up and let's go." Yi Tianqi suddenly felt that he had clearly become a monster in the eyes of this group of subordinates. The second grandma Kong. The crooked-necked acacia tree next to the South Hall is a restricted area of the Kong family compound. After 10 days, Yi Tianqi finally knows what can't go in this huge yard. If an ordinary person comes to the Kong family compound, in the absence of subordinates to lead the premise will be lost, so Yi Tianqi most of the time choose to stay in their own living in the small courtyard, drink tea and read books, sit and watch the wind and rain. The legend about the crooked-necked acacia tree was heard some days ago from Auntie Zhou of the kitchen, and strangely enough, since becoming Kong Hao's master, the people in the courtyard looked at him a little wrong, especially the young and strong lads. One by one, they all stayed far away from him, and their eyes showed a complicated look. Perhaps in this day and age, to be able to be a young master's teacher in the compound is a rather eye-catching errand. Most of the time Yi Tianqi had to chat with the wives. Fortunately these wives are not so snobbish. Auntie Zhou is one of the fastidious people. "I heard that the acacia tree under the death of a person." This is what Auntie Zhou said, specifically who died there, and when the matter, she could not tell a reason, just repeatedly urged Yi Tianqi nothing to go to that place. The yin gas is too heavy, hurt the young man's masculinity is not good. For this kind of statement Yi Tianqi is also will be skeptical, but once far past the old acacia tree when he seemed to see a big bull scar on the trunk, do not know if that is the person left by the crash. Through and under people's conversation, Yi Tianqi finally know, the Kong family is near and far famous porcelain business. The house, in addition to retaining valuable ancient porcelain, Kong family porcelain craft is also quite exquisite, and even the official government in the porcelain half of the kiln from the master of the Kong. Yi Tianqi on the porcelain is not much research, in his view, those green and flowery things but is just a vessel, but the Kong family up and down the young and old on the porcelain are as God. Breaking a porcelain will be served by the family law at every turn. Yi Tianqi will often look at their own room, a few pieces of good old porcelain frowned. Maybe one day the bad luck is their own. Time to talk about it. To June, another month, the annual Midyuan festival is coming. Kong family up and down. In addition to the big Noah doing preparations, Yi Tianqi is happy to be idle. In addition to the daily dawning on the work, Ian's off the work, life as usual, just Kong how more and more well behaved up, memory is superb. Think about this way to go on for a long time, the child himself cannot teach down. The so-called blue is better than blue, may be this meaning. On the contrary, the woman, since the last early morning in the tunnel after a sea, even after this disappeared, would have seen only 2 times, Yi Tianqi, but she has a kind of indescribable feeling, but also true and false, and even don't know the woman in the end what is the name of who is whose wife, but from the attire point of view, afraid to be a concubine of the old master of the Kong. Every day at the end of the day, in the old Li's urging, Yi Tianqi is walking in a hurry, but subconsciously will still take a look in that direction, but unfortunately, the woman seems to have just disappeared out of thin air, nowhere to be seen. Several times in the class would like to ask Kong Hao, his mother in the end who is, but unfortunately, the old Li stared at Kong Hao, then staring at the thief is also tight. Yi Tianqi has not been able to find the opportunity. Just dawning class, Ian's after class, which seems to have become an iron law, more than a moment are not allowed. Whenever Yi Tianqi walked into the door of the East Hall, which will be filled with the luster of the night pearl, and so on when you leave, the lights are extinguished, as if there is no one living in general. And in the daytime Yi Tianqi looked along the east, but how can not find that lofty building? The East Hall was simply like a mysterious place, and he didn't dare to ask too many questions, but just repeatedly traveled between the canals every day, attending classes, and getting out of classes. This night, around midnight, the sky suddenly set off a cool wind. Yi Tianqi, who was cooling off, suddenly felt a little cold, and involuntarily shivered. When he was about to go back to the house to rest, there was a knocking sound from outside the door. Opened the door to see, a trace of warmth suddenly rose from the bottom of the heart. Only to see that the woman who has not seen for many days, is standing in front of the current, eyes slightly wan, Jew lips slightly open, at the moment is smilingly looking at himself. So it's the lady, I am courteous. Yi Tianqi's heart was startled, an indescribable trace of joy surged up, and he hurriedly bowed and saluted. Master Yi is courteous, may my slave come in for a moment? The woman smiled and curved her eyebrows, still in the same outfit as last time, but in this somewhat cool night it didn't seem so sudden. After letting the woman pass, Yi Tianqi slowly closed the door, signaling the woman to sit under the porch. Your son has been very well behaved during this time, and his schoolwork has also skyrocketed, he is truly a wunderkind. Yi Tianqi saw the woman take a seat, then opened the box of words. Although it is inconvenient for a man and a woman to get along under the porch at midnight, but he still ghostly hoped that the woman will not leave so early. I still have to thank Master Yi for teaching you well. The dog's son is stubborn, must have caused a lot of trouble for the master. The woman still smiled, only her face seemed to be a bit lacking, looking somewhat morbidly beautiful under the moonlight. Where, please use the tea. Yi Tianqi hurriedly made tea to serve the guest, but his heart was like drinking honey. That woman is very knowledgeable and reasonable, after taking a seat after talking naturally, so that he felt physically and mentally happy, just like a deer in the heart, but on the face, but also pretend to be calm and relaxed, but also difficult not small. Two people from Kong Hao talk about wind, flowers, snow and moon nothing. The woman sometimes cover the mouth gently laugh, but no half frivolous intention. Yi Tianqi is also sitting discussing. I do not know, see has been the ugly time will be close to a wisp of dark clouds will be the moon. Yi Tianqi Fong just felt a little bit cool, then said, time is not early, I do not know where Mrs. live, can be under the send Mrs. back to bed. Well. Don't know already ugly time, delay master rest, really big disrespect, I hope to forgive. That woman's face seems to have a change in color, just in the darkness of the night do not see clearly, but did not leave the intention. I wonder if Tian Chi, oh, that is, how air is asleep. Yi Tianqi's heart was suddenly embarrassed, so he changed the topic. That woman heard the color of the gloomy, as if by Yi Tianqi said in what matters of the heart. After a long time, Ying replied, Master do not know, how child and I, have not seen for many years. Ah. This remark took Yi Tianqi by surprise. What does the lady mean? You mother and son are not allowed to see each other for years. And why is that? Alas, master does not know. I was originally the second young master of the Kong family, but unfortunately, my husband's family died early, the family suddenly changed, the great-grandmother then took our child to go, the slave is also not able to see the love of the son. Ah. Said this compartment, the woman even wailing and crying. It turned out to be the wife of the younger brother of Master Kong. No wonder they rarely see her in the compound, must be because of widowhood, can only walk at night. It, think of this. Yi Tianqi cannot help but also feel sad up. Outside the door suddenly sounded a gong. Hourglass moment has gone to the ugly hour. This notice under the time, suddenly heard not far away from a compound issued a crisp crash. This sound in Yi Tianqi heard like a thunderclap. It was the sound of porcelain breaking. That woman heard the sound suddenly face changed greatly, got up and wanted to leave. Yi Tianqi also inconvenient to stay, just before leaving asked, I'm not talented, dare to ask the lady's name. Slave family name Nalan, Yushang is the name. The woman floated out, lotus feet hidden under the hem of the skirt, looks especially vivid and lovely. After seeing Nalan Yushang leave, in the night came the sound of arguing. Great-grandma, I'm sorry, the slave girl was wrong. Broke the porcelain. Asshole thing. Who said you were wrong? Tell you to drop it and you drop it. I'll be at peace only after I've dropped it. This was the voice of the Kong family's great-grandmother. That little slave seemed to be scared out of his wits. Could it be that the Kong family's family law was really so harsh that the little slave who had dropped the porcelain by mistake would be scared like this? Slave servant is afraid. That little slave seemed to have peed his pants. Afraid of what? I'm here, you keep dropping it, it's only good if you drop it all. Great-grandma seemed to have gotten angry, but this anger came from really no place. In case second grandma knows, it will, oh. That little slave really cried. Master Kong had gone out on an errand. If his old man was there, would this unlucky little slave be beaten half to death? Thinking of this, Yi Tianqi felt that his heart produced no small doubt why great-grandma hated these porcelains so much. If Master Kong would not come for a while, would she encourage her men to drop all the porcelain in the entire courtyard? Just then, his scalp jumped violently, because not far in front of him on the tunnel, that familiar figure appeared again. The boy with the blue and white porcelain vase in his arms, whose face could not be seen, was clearly wearing clothes similar to Kong Hao's, and was looking at Yi Tianqi slyly. 6 Forbidden Words. Xiao Fu died, and died quite bizarrely. Break the porcelain of the next day noon, Xiao Fu was found dead in front of the door of the south hall of the old crooked-necked acacia tree, eyes wide open, seems to have suffered endless shock. This is also the first time that Yi Tianqi close contact with that crooked-necked old tree. The news of Xiao Fu's death spread throughout the large Kong family courtyard in an instant, and the subordinates and ladies and lords all gathered together in an indescribably bizarre manner, and there was even a sense of excitement. Yi Tianqi looked at Xiao Fu's body, suddenly remembered last night with Nalan Yushang God chat when I heard the noise. It must be Xiao Fu broke the porcelain in the room of the great-grandmother. Did not think that the timid Xiao Fu was encouraged by the great-grandmother to break a few more porcelain, which makes Yi Tianqi feel puzzled, and the porcelain is quite respectful and even reverence Kong family. Why the great-grandma will take advantage of the master's absence on these porcelain lashed out. Xiao Fu's body has been stiff, repressed lips still residue a trace of fear aftertaste, must have seen something horrifying before death, but what horrifying things can there be in the Kong family compound? Could it be? A trace of unsettling thoughts suddenly ran into Yi Tianqi's brain. The little boy at the end of the tunnel seemed to be staring at him from the shadows, eating and laughing. He had never seen the boy's face, and his impression of that face had always been blurred. As for what he actually looked like, Yi Tianqi did not know at all, and at the moment, looking at the stiff little Fu in front of him, seemed to imply that she should have seen a shocking scene before she died. Could it be? Is that the child who is also a human and a ghost? Or perhaps, he was not human at all? Thinking of this, Yi Tianqi involuntarily shivered. At this time the crowd began to stir up. The Kong family died a subordinate is not a big deal, just after a long time. The old put a body in the yard is not a good thing, so there are good people yelling to carry the body away. This is difficult for the crowd. Carry away the body, said lightly, but do it is not so easy. For a while the crowd, you look at me and I look at you, cannot say a reason, and no one move. I do not know what thoughts moved in his heart. Yi Tianqi and the crowd are unwilling to go up when he went up, reached out and picked up the small Fu, his heart thumping. His heart seems to leap out of the chest generally. Feel the hands of the embrace is a lifeless mass of dead meat. He didn't know how to move his feet, so he walked away from the south hall with Xiao Fu's body in his arms. A small sound erupted from the crowd. Yo, it's that guy again, he's got a lot of guts. Quickly, don't say it, be careful to be heard by him, he is the second grandmother's hand-picked. Pedagogue. Isn't it quite similar to that person? Could it be that this time it is the second grandmother again? Amitabha Buddha, don't scare me, Amitabha Buddha. Every single one of these words reached Yi Tianqi's ears, and he suddenly thought of a horrible truth, that Nailin Yushang and Kong Hao are really mother and son. Why the two are not at all like each other. Kong Hao is already 9 years old, and Nailin Yushang seems to be just over 8 years old, is it? One has never seen her appear in the daytime, this is also too strange. At this time the little Fu in his arms seemed to let out a long breath. Yi Tianqi's hands trembled and almost didn't drop the body. Master Kong was rushed back to the compound later in the evening, and the first thing he did when he got home was to clean up all the subordinates in the great-grandmother's compound, beating and scolding them. For a while, the compound was abuzz with people, making a lot of noise. I heard that there will be a ceremony for Xiao Fu in the evening. After all, someone died horizontally in the compound, for the Kong family is a rather inauspicious thing. Before dinner the underlings began to busy themselves. Yi Tianqi was also lured out by Old Li, to participate in the crowd of the arrangement. The scar on the old crooked-necked tree outside the South Hall was particularly eye-catching, and it was a bit shocking to see Yi Tianqi. He repeatedly imagined what horrible things Xiao Fu saw last night, but was scared to death. When he thought about it, the sun was already setting in the west, and the red sunset accompanied by the afterglow hovered over the Kong family compound, which was exceptionally bewitching. About 2 o'clock, all the courtyard have palmed the lamp. Kong family big master slowly from the main hall out, in the company of the subordinates. Quite solemn towards the south hall. In the Kong family compound, the ancestral shrine is located in the middle of the south hall, so that crooked old tree has become a landmark of the shrine. In the night with the lights, Yi Tianqi followed the queue formed by the subordinates respectfully walking behind Master Kong, only to see the twilight that the old tree looks quite horrifying, as if it is going to come out and tear these people alive, in general. But I don't know who in the end is the one who touched the dead tree. Could it be related to Xiao Fu's death? Waiting until he reached the south hall, Yi Tianqi felt that he had goosebumps. Only see the patio in front of the hall, placed 18 real people tall and short of a large porcelain vase. When the intersection is placed horizontally the same size of a blue and white porcelain vase, placed in the order looks particularly bizarre. Yi Tianqi only feel a shiver in the heart, unspeakably difficult. What makes him feel even more surprised is that, dawning in Kong Hao courtyard only use the large luminous pearl at this time also be used up, will not be big south hall small courtyard illuminated through the body bright. The icy blue luminous beads and the celadon porcelain mirrored each other, forming a charming and eerie atmosphere that made people feel shivering. And the entire Kong family was in a pious manner, respectfully waiting for the master to give the word. Porcelain sacrifice, begin. The thin-faced Master Kong chaotically yelled out, and all of a sudden the drums and music were all playing funeral music, which made one's body feel a chill. It turned out to be a sacrifice of porcelain. Yi Tianqi originally thought that it was to sacrifice the dead Xiaofu, but it didn't occur to him that Master Kong actually wanted to sacrifice the porcelain that had been broken by Xiaofu. This is really very different from the reaction of the great-grandmother. He clearly remembered that last night Xiaofu was scolded by the great-grandmother not because of the broken porcelain, but the fall was not hard enough. Wondering only to see a small workman-like subordinates will be Xiaofu's body pushed up. As the music into the end of the song, Xiaofu's body is also stamped with bizarre luminescent beads of color. Master Kong waved his hand, and Old Li stepped forward, chanting something like an incantation. At this time, Master Kang's mouth also softly said something to the effect of "Don't blame me, this is all the subordinates' mistake to do it, you just feel at ease with yourself," and so on. Listening to Yi Tianqi confused. At the end of the day, after Old Li finished reciting the talisman, a pair of becks looked like they were letting go of light and nodded to Master Kong. Master Kong waved his hand, and Old Li then roared in a sandy voice, into the coffin. A few people's 7 hands and feet will be small Fu penny body into the current room that the blue and white porcelain vase. This scene to see Yi Tianchi dizzy original Kong family use the coffin, but it is and their business is closely related to the porcelain. Back. Old Li yelled again. Master Yi, go quickly, don't look back, keep walking outside the South Hall. At this time, Auntie Zhou from the catering room suddenly scurried out and said to Yi Tianchi with a nervous expression. Only to see the crowd began to save up, people are nervous to go out, not dare to turn back. Yi Tianchi walked in the crowd, only to hear a sound behind him, like someone will be placed horizontally. Vase stood up, but also like someone to carry away the huge vase. Finally, he could not help and people do not pay attention to when, turn around a look. This look could make him nearly lose his soul. Only to see the South Hall in the center of an ancient mirror, is reflected in a silhouette, and that silhouette is no one else, it is last night also appeared in front of his eyes Nalin Yushang. He felt a burst of cold sweat running down his back, followed by the luster of the night pearl. He clearly saw that the silhouette was only wearing Nalin Yushang's clothes, while the face was a set of withered bones. Touch! 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 A crisp splintering sound that rang out one after another made the distant crowd explode, and even Master Kong shivered with it. It turned out to be the 18 porcelain vases placed around the perimeter that shattered on their own one after another. Holy shit! The porcelains are all broken. Second grandmother. Spare my life. Run for your life. Run for your life. People roared loudly from their mouths, scrambling to escape as if they had seen a ghost. Yi Tianchi only felt a coldness behind his ears. Under the cover of the ancient mirror, he saw that the silhouette in the mirror wearing the lake blue flag dress had come behind him at some point, and his head was just blocking that withered bone-like face. Clang! After a loud bang, the mirror shattered with a thud. 7 strange news of the kiln. This sickness was for several days. Since being rescued from the South Hall compound, Yi Tianchi was seriously ill, day after day, not to mention the pendulum, repeated high fever, a few days down the whole person description of decay, a few with the living dead no difference. Strange to say, to the 7th day, this disease unexpectedly self-cure for no reason. These days Yi Tianchi has been staying in their own yard, only the Old Li a person occasionally come to see, if not the kitchen of Aunt Zhou Goodheart to send him some rice. Yi Tianchi is afraid to be in the Kong family self-sustaining. These days have not gone to work, and do not know how alone to learn, but the thought of his mother, Yi Tianchi still cannot help but hit a shiver. Nalin Yushang, that enigmatic woman, could it really be the person in the mirror that night? But the ghost in the mirror seems to be wearing her clothes, could it be someone like Yushang? Yi Tianchi's heart seems to be unwilling to admit that the two are the same person. But with the passage of time, the night of the horrific scene seems to have faded in memory. The only thing that makes him feel puzzled is that the body of the small Fu coffin, in the end, they were sent to where he remembered to look back at the ancient mirror, the South Hall, when the large porcelain vase placed across the room has disappeared. Surprisingly, the porcelain vase as a mortuary, this family is really weird. This afternoon, the tree cicadas chirping fiercely and raucously, called people upset. Yi Tianchi, who had just recovered from a serious illness, was walking alone on the porch, when Auntie Zhou mysteriously knocked on the wooden door and came, sending him food and a change of clothes. Uncle Li, the concierge, and the master have gone out on an errand, so he asked me to bring you food, so eat it quickly. Auntie Zhou looked quite kind and said softly. Dare to ask that night? What in the world did I do? Yi Tianchi words just together, was Zhou Aunt Ra to pinch back. Ai yo, Amitabha Buddha, why are you still asking that thing? That night you do not die even if you have repaired the blessing. Ai yo sin. Auntie Zhou was too busy to yuck up her mouth. Blah blah blah. Not waiting for him to take over the conversation, Auntie Zhou said, you are really a sinful yo, told you not to turn back, you want to turn back, this time it is, not to die but also have to shed skin. Auntie Zhou, what the hell is going on? Yi Tianchi asked in a confused manner. But intuition tells him, in front of this half-wife's mouth is unable to control the words, good thing that the Old Li is not there, this time to ask a good question to solve the doubts in mind. Aunt Zhou seems to shiver a little. I do not know whether it is the afternoon breeze or fear in the heart. Yi Tianqi seems to feel that, with their own words out, even the summer cicadas on the treetops are not so noisy. The silence at this time, let Yi Tianqi more and more feel the atmosphere of the treacherous, even thought of Auntie Zhou seems to know many unknown mysterious events in the Kong family compound. He did not continue to talk, just waiting for Auntie Zhou to speak out on her own. After a long time, Auntie Zhou nodded her head, and after pondering for a while, as if she had made some major decision, she slowly spoke out. Originally, the Kong family is well-known porcelain merchants. The original is a faction of Huizhou merchants, and then in the war in the previous dynasty displaced to this place to set down roots, has become a porcelain production and trafficking-based family. A few generations down the branch has flourished. Kong family has 3 brothers, of which the eldest is the owner of the courtyard, Master Kong. The second brother in a few years ago in a merchant ran by bandits, never returned, is said to have died in his hometown. As for this oldest 3, it's a bit fishy to say the least. Xiaoye, these things are the Kong family's old stories. You listen to it, do not mention it to outsiders, otherwise, if you let the Kong second grandmother know, ouch ouch ouch. Auntie Zhou was another unintentional shiver, startled Yi Tianqi in a cold sweat. This second grandma Kong, in the end, what kind of person is she? Yi Tianqi returned to his senses and asked cautiously. I was just about to tell you. Auntie Zhou was talking about dry mouth, and did not care about Yi Tianqi's feelings, casually picked up the tea on the table and drank it all in one go, and continued to talk down. This Kong Laosan born suave, is known far and near the beautiful man, but where there is a single woman, can be on his heart, coupled with the Kong family affluent party. Kong Laosan's fame is also more and more big up. It is said that he writes a handful of good words. This Kong family compound inside and outside of the plaque are inscribed by his own hand. Yi Tianqi suddenly thought of those plaques he saw. The handwriting is strong and powerful. At a glance, it is known to be the work of everyone. Kong old 3 years over 30 has not yet married, but also anxious Kong master, coupled with the house heir is very little. The oldest 2 and died early in a foreign land, so the task of succession to the oldest 3 on the body, but he delayed the sweetheart, but also became a Kong family up and down a big matter of heart. Until one day, a woman came into his sight. This woman's name is Nailin Yushang, is the neighboring county of a large family's daughter. Because both parents died early, the family is also down. But since Kong Laosan passed through the neighboring counties in a run to see her, it will be the soul of the soul, day and night thinking about it. It is said that this Nailin Yushang is also a magnificent beauty. After seeing the old 3 also heart secretly promised, so the old 3 will be according to the original 2 agreed to mention the matchmaker. Originally a happy event, but the world is unpredictable. The so-called love is always hurt by the heartless. When the Kong Laosan joyfully to the Kong master mentioned this marriage, but was flatly rejected. The Nailin family is in decline, with the door of the city, such as the carp of the Kong family, compared to the small witch to see the big witch. The master refused the marriage with burning words, and locked up Kong Laosan at home, so that he could not meet with Nailin Yushang. The saying goes that there is nothing difficult in the world, but only those who have the will. Although Kong Laosan was put under house arrest, it was difficult for him to get rid of his love for Miss Nailin, so he repaired the letter day by day, hoping to talk to his beloved. Kong boss at this time has been married, although no heir to enjoy, but the third brother is quite love. They cannot see their own brother all day long. Tea and rice, description of the withered, so they agreed to send these letters to the Nailin Yushang. Gradually, Kong boss will be every now and then with Miss Nailin to take the side door into the compound, in order to become a good thing. Gradually, the subordinates began to call Nailin Yushang Kang's second grandma, because she was the second daughter-in-law of the Kong family, and in their eyes, it was only a matter of time before Boss Kong accepted her. At least that's what they thought at the time. But I don't know what happened later. Miss Nailin was pregnant. This matter was known to Master Kong, in the compound caused a storm of blood. First of all, Kong Laosan was punished by the family law, and then Master Kong sent a nurse to remove the blood in Miss Nailin's womb, which was killing Kong Laosan. So in a dark and windy night, Laosan asked Miss Nailin to elope together. Unexpectedly, Master Kong already knew, in the middle of the road to intercept the two, and then forced to Kong Laosan imprisonment. The night of Miss Nailin suddenly went into labor, but Kong Laosan hanged himself in his own room. The news leaked to the Miss Nailin, so she did not bring up a breath of air, followed the soul to go. Master Kong couldn't bear the pain of losing his son, and coughed up blood and died 3 days later. After that, Boss Kong inherited the family business, and in order to pay homage to his dead brother and Nalan Yushang, Master Kong ordered her tablet to be placed in the ancestral hall of the Kong family and buried her in a generous manner, and so the poor Nalan Yushang finally won her position as the second grandma of Kong after her death. But then something extremely human happened. The subordinate said that the current Master Kong, that is, Boss Kong, actually secretly loved Nalan Yushang for a long time, and even had an affair with her, which is why the tablet of Nalan Yushang must be placed in the ancestral hall. But the great-grandmother was a jealous woman. She couldn't stand the fact that a person could still enjoy the favor of the Master Kong after her death. And so she ordered the people to dig up Nalan Yushang's grave in the middle of the night, and it was the night that the subordinates who dug up the grave were almost scared through there. The underlings who dug up the grave that night were almost scared out of their wits. In the darkness of the grave, a newborn baby was crying in the moonlight, and the sound was terrifying. The corpse of Kang's second grandmother seemed to have a smile on her face, and looked as if she was alive, and the sight scared the hell out of the subordinates who knew nothing about it, so that night almost everyone in the whole courtyard knew about this fact. Master Kong took away the child who was born in the coffin, and the child was later named Kong Hao, probably because he was born in the darkest place at the darkest time. He would cry loudly when he saw the sunlight or lights, and remained unrelieved until he was a teenager. Bone China. In other words, Kong Hao is second grandma Kang's son. Yi Tianqi suddenly felt a coldness on his back. The woman he saw in the courtyard a few nights ago, wasn't it Nalan Yushang? Could it be that she has been dead for a long time? Then what he saw, and what is? A twitch in the heart. Could it be that he really saw her? Alas, you do not. No, this Kong Hao is a taboo in the house. Aunt Zhou finished another cup of tea and said, ever since that night when that person happened, no one in or out of the Kong mansion dared to mention it again. Why? Yi Tianqi was surprised and asked. When Master Kong supported people to go to the grave mound again the next day, do you know, horrifying death, the remains of Kang's second grandma disappeared. Auntie Zhou a big shiver, as if she was this is not good, and the people said, Master Kong likes the second grandmother, will her? What happened to her? Yi Tianqi, as if he heard some horrible implication, asked with some trembling. Ouch, sin. Aunt Zhou suddenly thought of something. Suddenly on this topic taboo up, do not say no more. In short, you remember, do not mention the three masters and Kong's second grandma in the house, or there will be a big disaster. Last time you did not die is considered luck, next time I cannot guarantee it. These words heard Yi Tianqi heart a burst of fear, finally understand why the Kung Fu everyone to their own respect far away from the original Yu Kong Hao was born in a coffin in a freak, and that a few nights with their own free speech of the beautiful woman, but is the Kong house under the most fear of the people Nalan Yushang. Then why, would you choose me to be Kong Hao's teacher? Yi Tianqi didn't know what came to his mind and suddenly asked this for no reason. Aunt Zhou's eyes suddenly fluttered. That indescribable feeling made Yi Tianqi feel as if he was stuck in his throat. Coincidentally at this time, an afternoon breeze blew, cooling his body with a layer of goosebumps. Nalan Yushang's voice and smile seems to be still masked in the memory. That pretty as the moon's smile seems to be transformed into a white bone, eating and laughing at him. Why did I find you? Auntie Zhou seemed a bit puzzled as she said, don't you know why? Why? Yi Tianqi was simply puzzled. Auntie Zhou swallowed a mouthful of saliva and scrutinized his face, and after a long time, she finally said a sentence that confused him even more, really like. Like what? Auntie Zhou, can you say it once and for all? Yi Tianqi was an extremely curious person, and this time, after a burst of Auntie Zhou's speech, it unexpectedly evoked infinite curiosity in his heart. Sins, and then again this life of the old body is afraid to take a ride in the. Aunt Zhou, as if she saw a ghost, shivered all of a sudden, and then no longer say this thing, look at the sky will be late. She sought a reason to leave, but was Yi Tianqi dragged a hand. Auntie Zhou, is there anything in this that can't be said? For example, that night. He seemed to say with a reluctant heart. Blah blah blah. You brat. Auntie Zhou seemed to be furious. I've taught you not to say it again, don't ever mention it again. Don't you think you've had enough bad luck? If it wasn't for Grandma Kong, you'd be dead already. Said, Aunt Zhou hurriedly packed up tableware and wine cups, taking advantage of the last trace of the evening sunlight to escape as if leaving Yi Tianqi living in the side yard, leaving him alone to sit and stand on the spot in a daze. Auntie Zhou's words made Yi Tianqi's mind have a lot of doubts. Ever since he entered the Kong family compound, strange things happened one after another, or he bumped into these things. According to Aunt Zhou's statement, that Nailan Yushang is a long time dead. As for why we'll see her late at night, Yi Tianqi said that it should be a dream. At least a few times he and her talking to be woken up by the concierge Old Li. And Kong Hao, this child seems to be born very handsome, but always from the bones of a let a person feel the backbone of the meaning of cold. He seems to have embraced a huge porcelain vase. Let the wind and rain are standing in the tunnel leading to the patio. Yi Tianqi even think, Kong Hao was not the people of this world. Thinking of that night when the porcelain festival, in the mirror to see the image of that person, clearly is the appearance of Nailan Yushang, but she has half of the face hidden in the white bones. Think about it is a bit frightening. If what Auntie Zhou said is true, then the Kong family must have some ulterior motives. First of all, Nailan Yushang after the death of the body where to go? Is it true that the crooked old acacia tree at the entrance of the South Hall has touched someone? Secondly, why were all the people in the Kong family so reverent of the porcelain, but only one great-grandmother didn't care about it at all? A series of questions lingered in his mind, and on such a midnight when the summer heat had not yet receded, he fell into a deep sleep, and when it came to the hour of midnight, there seemed to be footsteps outside the door, but he did not have the strength to get up and check again. So the night was dreamless. Near the dawning of the time, the Old Li still grinning an ugly mouth to wake up, Yi Tianqi opened sleepy eyes. Hurriedly washed his face, followed by the Old Li's hunched body out of the side yard. The tunnel is quiet, only a few nocturnal birds of prey to emit a burst of low cries. More and more appear to be the bleakness of the darkness of the night. He subconsciously turned back to look at the children and did not see the embrace of the celadon vase. East hall of the classroom is still a piece of ice blue night pearl luster, although this kind of shimmering light has long been accustomed to. But in the afternoon, I heard Auntie Zhou talk about the Kong family's history, especially Nailan Yushang in Kong Hao's story. Yi Tianqi on this seemingly intelligent children more than a few points of scruples, but the heart seems to have a bigger puzzle, urgently need to be solved by Kong Hao. That is Nailan Yushang alive or dead? Could it be that after giving birth to Kong Hao in the coffin that night, she did not die, but was snowed in by Kong Laodai? In a big family, these things seem to seem unusual, but there must be an answer waiting for Yi Tianqi. He really couldn't compare a dead person to the stunning woman he had seen with his own eyes. The only thing he could do was to decide that she was still on Earth. Taking advantage of the moment of warming the book, Yi Tianqi routinely instructed Kong Hao, and seeing that Old Li seemed to be napping by the concierge, he immediately took the time to walk over to Kong Hao, only to see that the child was still earnestly warming the book, and so he softly asked, Tianqi, what is the matter with master? Kong Hao lifted his little face, and although he was chilly, he looked exceptionally handsome, and in comparison, that Miss Nailan seemed more like his sister. Tianqi, master asked you a question, but answer truthfully. Yi Tianqi swept Old Li out of the corner of his eye, and after seeing that there was no harm, he continued. Master, but there is no harm in asking. As long as Tianqi knows, he will certainly say everything. Kong Hao's eyes flashed. Your mother, but Nailan Yushang. Yi Tianqi took a deep breath and finally said these words, immediately feeling his chest stirring. Wow! Kong Hao heard suddenly let out a loud cry. Yi Tianqi heart shocked. Originally this child in addition to the incisors are snow white, the back of the big teeth actually seems to be black paint dyed general, looks so daunting. What makes him feel even more terrified is that Old Li did not know when, but stood beside him, godless dead fish eyes filled with anger. Look what you've done. He growled angrily, today's lesson ends here. Go away. Saying this, he pulled Yi Tianqi by the hand, and without waiting for the night pearl to darken, he hurriedly left through the tunnel. Yi Tianqi and also echoed after Kong Hao hissing cries, sound people feel shivering. This is clearly in his dream, to hear the child holding the celadon vase issued by the kind of human sound. Don't come to class these days. If the master knows you asked Hao this question, he'll skin you to the bone. Old Li said viciously again, plucking out Yi Tianqi again. Yi Tianqi had a chill, not for Old Li's words, but, in the twinkling of an eye, he seemed to see that person, standing on the side of the tunnel, looking at himself with a grudge. Nailan Yushang. 9 with tears to survive. Yi Tianqi really couldn't go to Kong Hao's class. From that night's dawning question, it seemed that both Old Li and Master Kong had put him out in the cold. Yi Tianqi carried the heavy kale and soil on his back, walking step by step, one deep pit by one deep pit, on the path, which curved up the mountain and led directly to the kiln of the Kong family. The laborers all avoided him, as if avoiding an unlucky object, far away. Yi Tianqi shook his head helplessly. It seems that he has long been used to this kind of differentiation. Since he took over Kong Hao, all the people in Kang's house seem to respect him from a distance, except for the concierge Old Li and Auntie Zhou. The other people don't pay attention to him on a regular basis, and now even Auntie Zhou doesn't treat him very well anymore. Kiln Factory is located in the east end of the town on a large hill, which is also into the Kong family compound. Since Yi Tianqi first set foot on the land outside the yard, scorched yellow land, stands a lot of large and small kilns, and in the fire kiln in the middle of the fear of burning is the porcelainate. Kong family up and down the porcelain produced are shipped to the capital. I heard that by the favor of the dignitaries. Said Yu. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and put the pile of earth here. Foreman reprimanded these bare-breasted laborers, and at this time Yi Tianqi also joined them. July's poisonous sun shines on the body, indescribably difficult. From time to time there are one or two whips waved in front of the body. Gradually, Yi Tianqi can see that this piece of hill are all fire kilns. Uncountable finished porcelains are being transported towards the bottom of the hill in an endless stream. Allowing himself to be issued to work in the kiln factory, Yi Tianqi has never been able to forget Kong Air Grandma, also known as Nailin Yushang. Who this mysterious woman is, or whether she is alive or dead, has now become a knot in his heart. Kiln factory work is very hard, are under the force of the people doing. Yi Tianqi, although stout, but also cannot handle, gradually get tired. Near midday, the crowd suddenly rose a commotion. Yi Tianqi looked in the direction of the crowd, shrugged, only to see a few dressed in a somewhat neat-looking government people escorted a large car up the hill. The crowd immediately followed the route into two groups, will be the big car into the kiln field. Another big shipment, TSK, this time I do not know is that big family order. You'll die if you don't say a few words. Master Kong is afraid that this time, alas, sinning A few older laborers said softly beside Yi Tianqi's ear, but not a single word was heard by Yi Tianqi. These people seem to be many years of labor here, even the foreman does not greet them much, but these a few unexplained words as if a heavy hammer knocked into his heart. Big cargo? What is it? A thought suddenly sprang up, ghostly. He suddenly remembered the porcelain festival that night in the compound. Bang, broken a few porcelain vases. Will not. Xiao Yi, blocking the road, quickly get out of the way. An old laborer with white hair pulled Yi Tianqi over with one hand before he could not be scratched by the hub of the big car. Upon closer inspection, the hub of the car seemed to be made with fine craftsmanship, covered with a metallic luster. If it wasn't for that elderly laborer who dragged him here with this hand, Yi Tianqi was afraid that he would have been scraped off a skin and flesh out by the wheel hub. Thank you, how do you know my last name? Yi Tianqi slowly thanked the old man. His heart was suddenly suspicious. Call me Old Zhang. The old man let out a long breath, as if he was breathing a sigh of relief for Yi Tianqi's survival in the midst of danger, and said, the entire Kong family can know about you. Fortunately you have a hard life, or else you would have died long ago. What, dead? Yi Tianqi grew his mouth. This was the second time in 2 days that he heard someone talking about the fact that he would die. It seemed that this had become the talk of the house up and down, while he himself had been kept in the dark. Alas, do you really not know why you were chosen to be Kong? That child's master. Old Zhang just happened to speak to the important point, seems to realize that he violated some forbidden words and techniques, suddenly changed that child as a substitute. I don't know, I still hope that senior will guide me. Yi Tianqi lightly bowed and said. I don't know, the previous destiny is not yet finished in the world, but also a few points of green silk sorrow. Old Zhang murmured a sentence Yi Tianqi had never heard before, said, Xiaoya, do you know the Kong Three Masters? The late generation knows a little. Yi Tianqi did not dare to make a mistake, so he answered truthfully. This Kong third master died early. As for that Kong second grandmother, should actually be counted as third grandmother. It also seems that Miss Nailin is very infatuated with him. Do you know that you were born a few points like him? The corners of old Zhang's mouth closed slightly, closing his words. What? I look like him. When Yi Tianqi heard this, it was as if he had been struck by a bolt from the blue, and he couldn't even stand still. Alas, it's all a sinful fate. You don't know, the house all said you are the reincarnation of Master Kong Sanit. Old Zhang shook his head and said, only Old Li said that you are not, and said with Master Kong that you are a good craftsman who teaches and educates people. Why? Yi Tianqi was also at a loss for words this time, and subconsciously said, could it be that the words of gratitude that second grandma said to me were all true? You child, are you crazy? Old Zhang sniffed and became a bit annoyed. Second grandma passed away more than 10 years ago, where can you see her? Besides, you see that the child is now so big, the second grandmother died in childbirth, this year also cannot be right. Ah, you are afraid of a dream crazy it. Yi Tianqi cannot hear what the old Zhang mouth. Kong's second grandmother has long passed away. This fact has let him fall into the ice cellar. In the back, old Zhang continued to tell the palimpsest that he couldn't hear from Great Aunt Zhou's mouth. Since Nalin Yushang and Kong Laosan both perished, Kong Laosan also sailed to the west, the family was in chaos, then Kong Boss came out to preside over the situation. The first thing is to bury Nalin Yushang, and then consider the burial of Kong Laosan and the master. This matter provoked the great-grandmother's extreme opposition, because at that time, Kong Boss and the great-grandmother newlywed soon, the subordinates do not dare to make a fuss. So Kong Boss against the great-grandmother's roar to bury Yushang in the grave. So Boss Kong buried Yushang in the grave against the roar of great-grandma. Later on, it happened that the great-grandmother supported the digging of the grave, which was no different from what Auntie Zhou said, but Lao Zhang, because he had been working in the kiln for a long time, knew something that he didn't know in the inner courtyard. Originally, the Kong family there is a more amazing secret. Nalin Yushang disappeared, the Kong master, that is, Kong Boss ordered all the porcelain in the house to be sealed for the supply, and from now on do not allow anyone to touch the porcelain, in the east hall of the main house, but also a huge blue and white porcelain vase. And Kong Hao also survived, but could not see the light, as long as someone in the house mentioned Nalin Yushang, will attract his cries. The blue and white porcelain vase. This word seems to turn over Yi Tianqi's memory, at least in his opinion. The huge blue and white porcelain bottle appeared twice. Kong Hao embraced that bottle, surprisingly higher than Kong Hao himself. A larger one appeared in the ceramic festival that night. Xiaofu is being put into a huge blue and white porcelain bottle coffin. Could it be that there is something fishy in the porcelain bottle? Thinking of this, Yi Tianqi could not help but hit a shiver. That porcelain vase is a mortuary. The old Zhang continued to go down. Later, the house of porcelain as a god, but where there are underlings touch bad porcelain, will be punished by the family law. Due to the boss of the Kong business, the more business is bigger and bigger, but also became the favorite of the officials and noblemen. The porcelain supervised by those people are shipped to the capital, and are said to be able to make people linger, but the manufacturing process is unknown to us, said old Zhang, looking somewhat enviously at the people who escorted the car. Then why do you want me to teach that child? Yi Tianqi asked. Humph, it's not that old Li is uneasy, they say that he is the master's lapdog. You do not know, before you there are 10 or so masters have lost their lives in the mansion, alive and scared to death, even that little Fu, also because of mistakenly touching the porcelain, by the second grandma to get dead. Old Zhang teased. Yi Tianqi's heart was shocked. Could it be that Nalin Yushang was deliberately sparing herself? Was she a female ghost, and why was she born so handsome? Epilogue. After a few days of working in the kiln, Yi Tianqi was finally called back to his side yard. It seemed that someone wanted him to continue teaching Kong Hao, and in the tunnel leading to the side yard, a few people could be heard whispering in a broken voice. Look at this Han, his life is really hard. The person who was picked by second grandma is different. Great-grandma is afraid that she cannot tolerate him. Aya, Sinyo, I do not know that this Midyuan festival can get rid of that wronged soul not. These days there are too many strange things in the house. The master also happens to run goods to go. This time the great-grandmother should be powerful. Yi Tianqi tried hard to wake up from these broken words, but wait until he returned to his own courtyard. He was again stunned by the scene in front of him, only to see a woman wearing a lake blue dress, standing under an acacia tree in a graceful manner. Not Nalin Yushang and who else? Second grandmother. Yi Tianqi did not know where to get the courage, took the lead and opened his mouth. Only to see Nalin Yushang make a wan fu, did not answer. Miss Nalin. Yi Tianqi said in his heart that dead or alive just this time, instead of letting her live to scare to death, it is better to seek a pain in the ass. The underling said that you have long passed away. Passed away. Nalin Yushang is not shy to answer, the voice seems to have an acacia breath. Ye masters, these days to trouble you to teach the little child, the slave is here to thank. Words suddenly changed appearance, shocked Yi Tianqi's soul. Only see a pretty face, skin layers peeled off, whereas the Yi Tianqi desire of the beautiful woman, Nalan Yushang, clearly transformed into a ghost, white bones, the breath of decay clearly discernible. In a flash, this soul-crushing white bone face changed back to Miss Nalan's appearance. Did not wait for Yi Tianqi back to God. Yushang has a scurry to the body, nose can already smell her body fresh acacia aroma, also do not know what magic was cast, Yi Tianqi, although some fear, but cannot move at all. Is it really you? Nalan Yushang came close to Yi Tianqi and said softly, seemingly murmuring. Second grandmother. Yi Tianqi suddenly felt a light in his brain, suddenly with a clear mirror, a scene from his previous life suddenly broke into his mind like a flurry, this clear woman in front of him with eyes streaming flash, it is really her. Surely it's you, surely it's. Nalan Yushang stroked his cheeks with her cold hands, no wonder it's so much like that, surely it's you who came back to see me. Yi Tianqi closed his eyes, memories like a tidal wave drowning him in an instant. He ran back to his bedroom in a hurry. Elder Kong was sending people to get the jade cream, he couldn't just cut off his blood and bones like this. What to do? At this moment, 1,000 thoughts rose from his heart, but they were unable to resolve the current crisis, the stabilizer must be on her way, and the blood in Yushang's womb was at risk, what should be done? Seeing the huge celadone vase in the bedroom, he closed his eyes and made a decision. Then he splashed ink on the desk table and wrote a letter to his elder brother. Ghost Man Porcelain. The most mysterious technology in the family is the Ghost Man Porcelain, the so-called incarnation of living beings as porcelain, which can eliminate the desire for a long time. He has made a decision, in this night will hang himself to fight, then by elder brother will be his bones into porcelain bones, made of ghost people porcelain, through elder brother handed over to the hands of the Jade Frost, can send thoughts, he has decided to die in the world, then there is only one wish left to be done with the Jade Frost and his own flesh and blood, shall be elder brother on behalf of the upbringing. So, he will become a ghost in the porcelain spirit, life and death guard mother and son two people, eternity shall not transcend life. Yi Tianqi gasped for air, retreating from the sea of memories, staring at the beautiful woman in front of him, his eyes suddenly sour. Yushang, could it be that elder brother betrayed our promise? Alas! Yushang let out a long sigh, grudgingly said, your elder brother moved selfishly, actually buried you, and did not make the ghost people porcelain, do you know, was made into the ghost people porcelain who? Could it be you? Yi Tianqi asked fearfully and angrily, could it be that your elder brother made you into a ghost man porcelain and wanted you to become a porcelain spirit? You don't know, since you went, I gave birth to Howard and prepared to follow you, but your elder brother, however, lifted me out of the coffin and burned me into a ghost man porcelain so that he could play with it day and night, counting that it has been more than 20 years, and Howard seems to be always so big, they don't know that Howard is a yin fetus ah. Yushang dripped tears and narrated. Yi Tianqi only feel a burst of heaven and earth original Jade Frost in the extreme yin time gave birth to Kong Hao, will make the child become can't see the light of the yin tire, from then on will be different from the normal growth rate, must be now, Kong Hao's actual age should be more than 20 it. Sins, really sins. Yi Tianqi couldn't help but beat his chest at his words. Great-grandma has always seen me not good, and so I became porcelain spirit, will be difficult for me and how child day after day, that ghost people porcelain was originally your family attacked the tribute to the capital, if the bones of a beautiful woman made, then it will show the color of the skin of a beautiful woman, holding these porcelains will be like a warm fragrance and soft jade. And the old Li is the supervision of the manufacture of this kind of porcelain masters, did not expect. That your older brother actually made me into a ghost people porcelain, I will be time to time not to transcend, great-grandmother at every turn to take the porcelain in the house to vent, although she does not know that one porcelain vase is me, but one day, I will be found by her. Yushang slowly said, the tone of voice is full of grief. So I sought the opportunity to create trouble in the courtyard, and even killed people, before your physical body, there were several other teachings, died in my hands, I did all this to wait for you to appear. Her eyes rippled with tears. Yi Tianqi painfully shook his head, could no longer listen, who the hell is he? Is it Kong Lao San or Yi Tianqi? Is Yushang a human or a ghost? At this time, he only saw Nalan Yushang let out a miserable whistling, the sound almost pierced his ears, but he saw that the eastern piece of the mountain was on fire, as if all the fire kills were lit. Save me! Save me! Nalan Yushang suddenly curled up her body, in pain. Yi Tianqi's heart was soft, the memory suddenly appeared again in his past life, ghostly, he pulled out his legs and headed to the east side of the mountain.